Handle your high with Tadayoshi. All right, I have Shaun Clarida. Shaun, welcome to the show, man. I appreciate you taking the time today, man, to be on the show.
No problem. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Hey, so these last couple of years, you've been doing really awesome, man. I remember seeing you come up as an amateur, and I don't know how many people didn't take, I don't know how many people would have known how good you'd really become.
Yeah, I knew I had to put on a lot of muscle, a lot of size, for the bantamweight. And it's funny because everyone that came up to me at the, not everyone, but most people said, hey, congratulations, your career's over. You know, like, bantamweights do anything in the IFBB. And I'm like, I know that if I put the work in, the time, and the effort, that I can actually make something happen. Never in a million years did I think I expected to be at Olympia my second year as a pro and, winning pro shows and everything. I knew that in time it would come, but I guess, everything just happened the way it needs to happen.
Absolutely. You never know how things are going to pan out, right? And I tell people that it's not about this sport as much as we focus, I think, so much on genetics and on what, these God-given abilities that people seem to, that you can't duplicate in a bottle or in training, that you just shows up on these wonderful physiques, yours and other people's. Even though there's a lot we can't do something about, there is so much that we can do something about, And
size is something that we can all do if we really want to put the effort to doing so. Structure, you can't really do much about your structure. It is what it is. But you can certainly put on size. You can certainly improve certain body parts. You can always perfect your posing. Those are things that you have full control of.
Yeah, no, and the other piece that I always harp on is the mindset, because your attitude and your perspective on your process of bodybuilding, it moves you from, it can take you through failure and turn failure into success, and or a person's attitude could take failure and just basically destroy their career,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could have certainly had that mindset that, well, I'm not big enough, I'm never going to do well, and just kind of just quit at that time. But that's not me. And I knew that eventually I'd make a name for myself. I really put the work into. So. Now,
what is your mindset when it comes to all this stuff? Because I mean, when you're 5'4", 5'2". Oh my gosh, 5'2". That's, and, you give the impression of a bigger stature person, but 5'2", it's very apparent on stage that you're one of the shorter guys there. But did that affect growing up? Because growing up, I'm 5'7", and I grew up short. I didn't but I am 5 inches taller than you, but I'm not. But it's still not, when you're in our height zone. Once you get to 5'7" and over, then it's a little different. But you're like in the average, I guess. I don't know. But I remember being the last dude in grade school. You know how you line up for pictures? I'm this. We're the motherfuckers on the end, right? So that affects you psychologically, and for me, it helped. It really encouraged me to develop a very different attitude towards a lot of things. I took a very positive spin. It's just the nature of my family and stuff, and where I come from. But what did you do? You always seem like you always have a smile on your face, bro, and I love that. So,
it never really affected me. I mean, I had tons of friends. I played tons of sports, and yeah, there were certain sports like basketball that it kind of hindered my. Never really affected me. And then when it came to bodybuilding, I didn't really think much of it, being the smallest and the shortest guy on stage. It didn't really affect me.
Did people try to discourage you? I'm just curious, because I don't hear, not all of us hear the dialogue that you would hear. You're coming up, got a great physique, you win, you get your pro card, and then people are like, well, it's done, you're done now, bro. Did you hear a lot of that? Did that affect you?
Well, yeah, when I turned pro, everyone thought I wasn't going to do much in the IFBB, but then I did a lot of research before I even started competing. And I saw guys like Dexter Jackson started off as a smaller guy, David Henry, I forgot the guy's name. Wow, I just totally went blank. The guy from New Jersey, the really short guy who turned pro as a lightweight. Wow, totally went blank. But he was actually one of my biggest inspirations.
Well, there's Jose.
Marvin Ward is the guy.
Oh, okay, Marvin. Oh, yeah. I totally forgot about that. But, I'll tell you another guy that I wanted to mention him, because in some ways you remind me of him. You only remind me of him in terms of the success that you had, which is Mohammed bin Aziza. He was my favorite. Growing up in the 90s in the sport, man, I was like, and then it sucked when he died, but probably one of the best death stories I can think of. The dude died at the show that he won. I was like, literally hours after the show's over, right? I don't know if you know the story, but I just happen to know what happened. I think it was a French Grand Prix, and they got him on stage. He was severely dehydrated, but he looked just incredible, right? And 5'1" or 2 or something, and like almost 200 pounds. And just bulbous, like unfucking believable bodybuilder. And he was my idol. I'm like, dude, he gives short people some hope in this sport. I'm like, this is the dude. So he goes to this show. He's on their stage with Porter Cottrell and all these great athletes, and he beats them all. But they have to take him off in prejudging in like every so often because he's doubled over. He's cramping up. He's like he's throwing up water. He's in these advanced stages of dehydration, and nobody spotted it out. And so he gets done, and he wins. He goes back. He can't eat. He goes out to dinner with Porter Cottrell and I think another the person they're ladies, and he just couldn't eat. He's like, hey man, I'm gonna go back to my hotel. I'm gonna just go to sleep. I just don't feel that good. I'm gonna go to sleep. He goes to his hotel room, goes to sleep, and doesn't wake up. And his heart's like, yeah, it sucks, but truly, you remind me of him and your success in the sport because nobody believed in this dude. He got his pro cars a bantamweight. And then he goes up and he crushes everybody. I was like,
it really can happen. Same thing with Marvin Ward and Jose Raymond and all these guys. I mean, no one's coming up, and then all of a sudden when we hit, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, you obviously have to have something special in your physique to be able to do this. It's not just necessarily hard work. And I mean, it is hard work, but it's not just that. There's a lot of other components. And you have this really great. It's almost as if, this is the way I see it when I see you on stage, it's almost as if you're like a cartoon. Like you're slapping like muscle onto this body, and it's like, okay, the only flaw that I see is that the thickness in the chest. That if you brought that up, man, it would be like lights out, game over. Like, but not that it's very distracting on your physique right now, because it's not, but it's come up. But I could see it's definitely like, okay, it's because your shoulders are so exaggerated, everything's so bulbous.
The problem in the past couple of years, actually, I work with John Meadows for all my training, and we've noticed that my chest is just not there, but my shoulders are fine. And it's because my shoulders are so overpowering, it makes my chest look small. So we actually flip-flop training the past couple of years, where we cut back completely on shoulder training and doubled up chest training to try to match it up. So,
and has that made an impact?
Yeah, it has definitely made a big impact. This year it'll be a lot better. I've been hitting heavy inclines, heavy presses. I've noticed it tremendously in just a couple of months, how much it's grown. So I'm looking forward to see what it looks like on stage.
Now, so that leads me to another question, and I rarely ask these questions, but I know people want to hear it, and I'm kind of interested too. Training style, is your training style the same? Has it evolved? I mean, I know you just talked about like where you're putting your emphasis, but describe your training style. Do you like volume? Because it sounds like you like heavy training.
I like heavy and volume. I've always trained heavy weights with as many reps as possible. But obviously, as you get older, you got to be smarter with your training and everything. I'm not as young as I used to be. I don't recover as quick as I used to.
Now, how old are you now?
I'm 30. I'll be 37 in September.
Wow, man! I just always think of you like 29, 30.
Still was.
No kidding.
Yeah, I worked the past couple of years now, and he's it's similar training style, but different. Different rep schemes. Different exercises. We're using a lot of band movement, so it's just trying to trick my body into new growth.
And you like it? Is it working well?
I love it. I've been with him for almost 4 years now, and I absolutely love it.
Now, does he do your other prep stuff, or is it somebody else? I can't remember who you're.
Yeah, so John does all my training, and Matt Jansen does all my nutrition.
Matt Jansen, that's okay, cool. Yeah. I just had Meadows on late last week, and it was really fun to just talk shop with him. So it was just kind of funny. But he actually is the guy that trained Muhammad bin, one of the guys that trained Muhammad bin Aziz. And he trained several other the big mass monsters of the 90s, like Nasser Al-Sambati. That's how he kind of got his name doing some of these. But he's it's interesting. So like and by the way, I just think that I'm sure, and I knew you would know some of these guys because all the short guys tend to know all the short guys. Well, we're looking for hope, right? We're looking for hope.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So when you got, I'm just curious, and this is just from an experiential standpoint. Like, what was your first? Your first Olympia was 2 years ago. 2015. Okay. So what was that? What was that like compared to successive Olympia outings?
Oh man, my first Olympia, I was just a kid in a candy store. To be honest, I was just happy to be in Vegas the first time. I'm just like eating popcorn in the audience, watching things, and I still have to get on stage and compete. But it was just, I had no expectations. I was just glad to be there that year and obviously learn and move forward from there. And obviously now this will be my 5th Olympia coming up this year. Obviously I'm not a rookie anymore. But I still get just as excited, man. It's Vegas. It's the Olympia. It's the biggest stage building. It's an honor, to be honest.
How do you, what's the toughest part of this process for you, the bodybuilding process? Dieting and training, that stuff usually is pretty easy. But what's the toughest part of the whole process of competing and doing all this stuff for you as an athlete?
At one point in time, it was tough having a full-time job and doing it. It's tough with, trying to fit cardio in first thing in the morning and having to work 8-9 hours and then go back to the gym, and then you're getting home late and then only getting 3 hours of sleep. It was tough for the past pretty much all my entire career up until about 2 years ago, where obviously I could just focus directly on bodybuilding. But right now, I absolutely love the diet. I love the cardio. I love the training. Toward the end, it gets extremely hard when calories are low. You're just dragging. You're running pretty much on just motivation at that point in time. What
does Matt drop you down? I'm just curious. When you on your lowest part of your diet, like what's your caloric intake or what's your carbs like? Do you do keto or do you not? Or?
Always keep carbs in because I can drop weight in a matter of like 5 minutes.
Just think about it.
Yeah, I gotta continuously keep food in my system. But at the lowest we've ever been, I would say for carbs for a day, I would say maybe 150 to 200 for the day. But I know a lot of guys are like, "That's it? Is that much?" I'm like, "Listen, it's low." And
I tell people because people asked me for years. I competed from '89 to like just a couple years ago, and the lowest my carbs would get in general was about 250 grams a day. And I'm like, man, like once I tell people like, man, they're like, oh man, that's so much. I'm like, not for me. I said when I get down to like 250, it feels keto. Like,
exactly.
It feels like I'm like fading away into the sunset here. It feels like like I can't even think right, and it has to do with.
As I'm eating the meal, I'm getting hungry. I'm still hungry.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it really has to do with each individual and how you've and of course people forget. Even though you step on stage at what 190, 180.
No. I was 160 at Olympia.
Oh shit, man! See, you look so much bigger. So you step on. So even 160 in the 160 range, at 5'1", that's a lot of muscle. That's more than what most people believe, what most people really realize. And to carry that on stage, I was on stage at about 210. That was my competitive weight for several years, and I'm 5'7". To carry that kind of weight, that kind of muscle weight, to be able to have it on stage takes a lot of food and a lot of calories. And if you're like me, I deplete. I go through the depletion process, and then I would load back up. That's a 4.5 day process for me. I cannot load my body in 3 days. It takes 4.5 days.
Well, the good thing about me is I have the benefit of not having to make weight.
Right.
That most of these guys have, where they have to drop their food up until the last day and then try to fuel back up. I just kind of coast into the show. I start the week off pretty low, and then I say by Wednesday we're starting a little bit increased food, and Thursday we're increasing more, and Friday there's obviously prejudging. But I think I have, like I said, there's no stress. My body is fresh. There's no beating it up trying to make a weight category or anything.
That's such a benefit. That's such a benefit.
Absolutely is. But I think it's been like that my entire career besides the year I turned pro.
Okay.
I've never had to make weight until that one time.
You're like, this sucks, guys.
Yeah. No, but it is what it is.
I remember I killed myself to get down to light heavy class because the judges had advised me that they said, oh yeah, you'll do well there. You should do that. You should do that. So I did it. I didn't think I looked as good personally, but I had to kill myself. So when just making weight, I totally get it. Like I hate that. I hate being able to have, just having to, because then you end up making sacrifices, and sometimes you don't look as good as you did. That's the dice that you roll, right? Like sometimes it turns out, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. A good thing too. Also, I'm a wrestler, so I wrestled in high school and college. So we're crazy. The mindset's crazy of a wrestler. Once you're a wrestler, so cutting weight, cardio, all that crazy training, it means nothing to us. We're used to it.
So now, what's I love asking these questions because like I like getting this different perspective. But I didn't wrestle. My brother wrestled. He was really good. But I never really didn't mess with them too much, and we didn't I didn't hang out at the wrestling matches or nothing like that. I was too busy with working or hanging out with girls. But what's tougher, getting ready for a big match for you? Now again, it could be different for everybody else, or bodybuilding. Now bodybuilding's gonna be longer. Obviously, there's a longer process to dive. But what's mentally tougher? Because I saw those dudes spitting in cans and shit and wearing all. I'm like, man, I would never be able to do that.
A wrestling match is tough because it's one-on-one. It's just you on the mat. And I think physically, bodybuilding, because we have to get down to a certain look and conditioning and striated glutes, and that takes a lot of effort. Whereas in wrestling, we didn't care about striated glutes back then.
You're like, no. I just want to pin this dude.
Yeah, exactly. But mentally, wrestlers, man, we have that crazy mindset. But physically, obviously, getting ready for a show is a lot tougher.
What now in the off season when this is the off season for you, right? You're not competing anytime soon, I don't think. Just the Olympia, right?
Olympia, yep.
Yeah. So, which is a huge benefit, and I would tell anybody that that's an opportunity, that's a huge benefit to be able to just have to train for Olympia. Although, here's my 2 cents, and take it for what it is. It's not if you're right where you're at, it behooves you to compete as often as you can, while you can. It keeps you really highly relevant. It gives you lots of momentum, but at the same time, you just got to balance that equation, whether or not can I make the appropriate progress that I need to make to progress at the Olympia, because I'm sure that's your main focus. But while at the same time bearing in mind, okay, I got this window of opportunity as a competitor, right? And I got to keep myself relevant as I can, so that way, because the more relevant you are today, the longer your relevancy lasts, right? So in other words, Kevin had to come out of retirement. He had to really sort of make himself relevant again. And some of the guys and younger guys today were like, who is he? Who cares? Why is he doing this? And that's the danger that you run when you don't stay relevant. So I would say this would be once you make the appropriate adjustments to your physique that you're happy with, I would say compete as often as you can, without sacrificing your health in the off season. You don't want to just run yourself ragged, obviously, but everybody's got their magic number, right? The most shows I ever did in a season was 5, and it almost killed me. So to me, my magic number was 2 or 3. That was good. That was good. But what is the magic number for you?
I did 10 shows the past 2 years.
Whoa.
I did 5 last year and the year before.
Damn.
I totally agree. Especially when you're starting out and competing as IFBB pro for the first time, do as many shows as you can. You're already in shape. You want to get the experience. You want to get the exposure.
And you got to line up against everybody else. You got to figure out what you got to work on.
Exactly. But obviously, I got success over the years. I started winning shows, and now the mindset has changed a little bit. Whereas, you know what? I'm not getting any younger, and I really want that Olympia title. So now we got to play things a little bit smarter. So this is actually the first year I actually have an off season. Because I have to qualify for Olympia somehow, some way, by either doing more shows or points. I qualified after the Olympia last year when I won the Legion Pro in September. Right. So the qualifying I'm active for this year.
Okay.
Even though I qualified in September, I still did, the Japan show after that.
Yeah. What did you play? Last year you placed
at the Olympia?
At the Olympia.
7th.
7th. Okay. So that was a little bit lower than I would have expected for you. Just my personal opinion. But it's been pretty steep last couple of years. But this year I should say, big opportunity. What's your feelings this year? Because now with Flex not going to compete, I really see you as one of the better physiques out there in terms of shape and structure, and it's so exaggerated. That's what makes your physique special. I hope you know that. When you look at you on stage, there's an exaggeration between your waist and your shoulders. You have tiny joints. Everything's very exaggerated, and so you just forget that you're 160 pounds. You're forget. So what's your? But talk to me about that.
Like I said, over the years, even though I've done so many shows, I've done well, and I've always climbed the ladder at the Olympia. I went from obviously not placing to 13th to 9th to now 7th. Now having this full year just to focus directly on the Olympia. I mean, my goal is to win it. Every year our goal is to win it. No matter if you're, if you have the, chance or not, you always want to win it.
Right.
But I think we have a chance to win it this year with now having the time to grow, improve. Realistically, I know it's going to be tough. It's wide open now with Flex and Jose are both gone.
Yeah.
and everyone's, has their favorites. Obviously, I think Lunsford's going to be one of the guys. Obviously, placed second last year at the flex. He's going to be up there. There's a handful of guys. I know it's going to be the absolute battle. My goal is, just like last year, get into that top, 5 call out and then move my way to that top 3 and battle whoever's there. That's
good. That's good. You can do that. I know you can. Keep the lines clean. Keep everything clean, and I think you'll do well. It is an exciting year, and as much as I love Flex, it's good to see him sort of move on. I mean, I hate to say it, I don't mean to sound like that, but because I love the dude, he's awesome. But and he's got a stellar physique. But I really am anxious to see him in the open division if he decides to continue to do. I really do. Hope he does. He's one of the few short guys that I think that can stand up pound for pound, muscle to muscle. He's one of the few guys. But we'll see. We'll see what he did. I mean, he's so non-committal. And I think Neil and everybody said, yeah, we're going to move up. It's going to take him another year and a half. But what was that?
I look forward to seeing him up against the big boys.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think with the direction the sport is going and how they want the judging and all those kinds of things, I think it could spell really good things for him if he's able to really go and traverse this division and really actually go and win, which is it's going to be a struggle. Then he'll do something that no one has ever done really, which is like unite these two divisions in terms of like being a champion in one division and being a champion in the other division. Like that'll be something special, but. Whether that happens or not is not really, I always want the best person to win, right? Like I want the best person to win. Like I don't care about records and all that stuff. I care about the win but I do think that you're better than 7th, and I thought that this last year. That's my personal opinion.
Meadows talked to me in Japan. He thought I should have been in the top 3. People obviously some people are biased on my team. They thought I should have been higher. I was hoping to be in the top 5. I thought I would be in the top 5, but again, it was a crazy lineup with Jose, Flash, Ashkenani, Lunsford, Henry. But the biggest thing is I was in the first call out.
Yeah, which is awesome. Yeah, I expected that. And it's hard. Like as a judge, I'm going to tell you that when I look up at the stage, it's hard sometimes to make these determinations because there were 6, 7 physiques that how do you not like them? Like they're really great. So you're really just sort of cutting hairs, and you have to make a choice, right? So. This is why I tell competitors, I say, look, your presentation is fucking critical. Like you can have some flaws, but if you display your physique in a manner that's pleasing for your physique, you can hide it. You can really, really advance yourself more than you think. You don't have to just be like this. You don't have to be perfect, but you can be perfect looking, right? You can display it perfectly, and so and it makes a big difference. So just. Even small things like when athletes turn to the side or when they turn around and do their poses, keeping their waists tucked in, like maintain their waistline, stuff like, and these kinds of things. That every time the judge sees you, you want them to see, oh wow, God, the dude's perfect. Like he's on point. Exactly. You want him to look, and even if it doesn't feel like that on the inside, you want him to look like that on the outside. Because I don't think there was ever a time, and I don't know about your 2 cents on this. Every time I competed in 57 shows in my lifetime, and a lot of shows. And so I remember every time, no matter how good I looked, and I always did well. I was always fortunate to do really, really well. But whenever I would get on stage, I always felt like I was out of shape. I was like, man, I suck, man. I could have done more.
Always gonna think that.
I know. Even though logically I knew, like people are coming up to me like, oh man, you look good. I'm like, okay, yeah, I could have been better. It's like,
but yourself.
Yeah. What keeps you tell me what got you involved in bodybuilding, because what is it about the sport that sort of really moves you?
Well, I started in college. I was actually wrestling in college, and I was only 110 pounds in college, and the smallest weight class was 125. Right. So the coach said if you want a chance to start at this weight class, you got to put on some weight, some muscle. So I started training at the gym, and there's a local bodybuilder who was an old school, Mr. Trenton, old school bodybuilder who said, yeah, you look great. You should do a bodybuilding show. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know clothes. I didn't know anything. One thing I knew was that he wore those little suits. And I was
like, I'm not doing that shit.
But then he talked to me more. He showed me a bunch of his videos, all his awards, and I was like, you know what? Let's try it. There was a local show coming up in 3 months. I said, let's do it. Let's just jump into it and see how I did. I did my first show, 2005, MPC, Natural Mid-Atlantic. placed third out of 5 in a novice class, and instantly hit by the bug. I mean, the aspect of training and creating a new look and fixing body parts and increasing muscle, bringing your waist down, the conditioning is on. It just drives me, motivates. I love it. I love the process.
The as you say that, it reminds me, because every great champion I've ever talked to, Dorian, Sean Ray, Jay Cutler, Arnold Schwarzenegger, when you hear them talk about their process for bodybuilding, getting ready for shows and developing their physique, they talk about like an artist. They say, oh yeah, I had this, and I'm a firm believer, and I tell my athletes this, before I start working with them, I want you to create a very vivid visual image in your head of the physique that you want to present on stage this year. As we prep, I want you to fix that in your mind. I don't want you to judge it. I don't want you to try to figure out how you're going to get there. I just want you to have it in your mind, and that's what we're going for. And so, do you have something? Have you created like an image, or what is your emotional approach to this? Because motivation is everything in this sport, and how do you position yourself in this way?
The person I always looked at and said, I love his physique and I want that physique, is Flex Wheeler.
Of course, yeah.
Small waist, the muscle bellies, how everything flows, posing. I studied him night and day and try to emulate that, and obviously I watched Shaun Ray, Lila Brado, all these guys. I mean, their posing and their presentation and the way they carry themselves off and on stage, I try to emulate that as well, be a professional both on and off the stage. I think it's what got me to where I'm at today and why I keep pushing forward the way I am.
It's funny. It's a good thing, actually. I think that when you, in many ways, I would say that your height is an advantage from this perspective, because one, it forces you to be the most complete bodybuilder that you have to be. Yep. 2, it forces you to focus on elements that other bodybuilders don't. None of them like presentation, posing, stuff like that. And when you focus, and then it makes you very, very complete. It makes you really hard to beat. Whereas a guy who's like 5'9", he's in the sweet spot for the champions. He's 5'8", 5'9", he's 255 pounds on stage. There's less likelihood of him feeling the need to push himself to do more posing, to do, not to say they don't. It's just that some of these guys, they rely, like Flex Wheeler, you talk to him and really quickly, and he admits this, that he relied so heavily on his genetic ability. And had he been in the right space up here, had he applied himself in a different way, he probably would have had some different results along the way. And most likely would have been Mr. Olympia.
I don't know how he hasn't been Mr. Olympia. That's great.
The reason why is because he wasn't right. He didn't have the right mindset. He and I talked about this when we were in Kuwait. Actually, you got third, I think, or 2 years ago, right? Yeah, I was there. I judged that. And he and I sat down and we talked, and I was just chit-chatting with him about it. And he was like, I said, out of all the people, because he's a name that comes up all the time as like, one of the great bodybuilders, perfect genetics, this guy's like, but yet, because I love bringing it up to other people, because they want to, they're the same people that say, oh, I can never get my pro card, I can never do that well because I just don't have good genetics. I'm like, well, the guy with the best genetics didn't win the Olympia. I was like, so take what you got, use it, and then figure out what you want to do with it. It doesn't matter, like. If you're not the best in the world, okay. But if you're the best that you can be, maybe that's good enough to get a pro card. Maybe that's good enough to it doesn't matter, right? Like what matters is how do you feel about it. Do you have a process that you like? Like I'm big on meditation and journaling and stuff like that. But do you have a process that helps you in your life to keep you focused, or does it just come from where you're at?
No, I guess I've always been competitive since I was a kid. And I've always wanted to be the best, and I always did whatever it took to be the best. With wrestling, aside from our normal practices in high school, I signed up for an extra class outside of school.
Oh yeah.
Academy to learn more. On top of that, I had friends that were wrestlers. I go to their house to practice, even after practice. It's just a matter of just being competitive and always wanting to be the best. Being a shorter guy, I don't have a chip on my shoulder. I kind of feel like I have to do more. What I mean? I have to think, okay, I'm the shortest guy. I got to show something different.
Right.
I got to back up to the stage. You just can't be a short, bodybuilder. And, I got to have something that jumps out and wows the crowd. This way, no one knows how short I really am. Even if you see it, but even if it's through my conditioning or my presentation, I want something that's going to really jump out and show.
Well, you're doing it. I asked this question of a couple of people, and I thought it was funny. I got some kind of funny responses. But everyone's got some funny fan stories. Like, do you have a funny fan story that's like, I told this story before, but if you listen to my interview with Brandon Curry, he was hilarious because I said, "Oh yeah, do you have any funny fan stories?" And he said was this guy a couple years ago at the Olympia. He was at the Weeder booth, or I forget whatever booth he was at, and the guys like came up and said, "Hey, can I get a picture of you flexing your bicep?" He's like, "Sure." So he said, "I raised my arm, I flexed my bicep," and the dude brings his camera up, and then he just fucking passes out. He like faints. The dude totally faints. I'm like. He's like, the dude just dropped, and I said, we looked over the edge. We're like, "Dude, are you okay?" But do you have any funny fan stories like that?
I mean, damn, that'd be great. I haven't experienced anything like that or anything too crazy. I mean, aside from like one guy asking for a picture, like I went to Japan obviously last year for the show, and this one guy asked me for a picture every day I was there.
You're like, "Can I get a picture?"
4 pictures, they were like, "All right, whatever you want." Nothing crazy.
What was that like going to Japan? I've always wanted to go because I'm Japanese, and I would just love it.
Oh my god, it was phenomenal, man. It was probably one of the craziest shows I've ever been to. The crowd, it was sold out. It was jam packed. Everyone was screaming, yelling, and obviously after the show, we're running the audience, we're posing for them, and taking pictures. It was great. I loved it. I mean, walking around Japan was phenomenal. Meeting new people.
And you did, and I bet you didn't feel short.
I did.
Yeah. I've always wanted to go to Japan. I always wanted to go to like Osaka or Tokyo or all these places. And they have in the Asian culture they really love bodybuilding. I had no idea they loved it so much.
Huge. Like I said, the show was it was literally jam packed. Whereas you go to a local show, if the bodybuilders are done, then half the crowd's gone. From start to finish, these people did not leave their seats. It was crazy.
Wow. They say that I've heard similar stories about India, where people jam. It's so popular, and lots of people show up there. Actually, more energy there than at the shows here in the U.S.
Well, I went to India back in 2011 for the U.S. Games after I won the Universe, and it was such a huge crowd. They held it outside, like in stadium style. I'm like, so I'm walking in like, what the hell is this? Yeah. It was people everywhere. They're taking pictures. They're like mobbing you. We actually had to have security.
Wow.
Because they people just wouldn't leave us alone. It was nuts. It was awesome though.
That's cool. It always surprises me. I guess, we're in sort of a little fishbowl here in the United States, right? Like sometimes we forget that the world is watching, that we all participate together. And now that now that we have the internet, it's the information, we can just get information anywhere, everywhere so fast, right? I remember, you probably remember like in the 90s, I remember the 90s where you had to wait until like the magazines published the results to different shows. And so I didn't know the results until literally months later, months later. And so it wasn't nearly as fast. The information like today is so fast. And also another big benefit, and I'm sure I'd love to hear your perspective on it, is social media. Social media today, it's just such a powerful force in everything that we do. But what it has enabled the sport and what it has enabled the fans to do is interact so directly with the professional athletes and the people they admire. And that is awesome because I couldn't do that. I had to wait years just to meet the people that I loved so much. I was like, oh man. And then ironically today, I'm friends with almost all those people that I admired. It's probably one of the biggest blessings of my life is to be able to go and I looked up to guys like Shaun Ray. So now I can just call him on the phone and and talk to him and just BS with him. It's a wonderful feeling. It makes me really believe that great things do happen in this life if you believe in it. What's the next? So when you look moving forward in your career, what's the next bastion of accomplishment that you want aside from winning the Olympia? Because I'm just going to assume that's in the target zone, in your target zone. Yeah. But what else?
I really want to travel more. I'm actually leaving tomorrow for Europe with Gasp. We're actually on a 10-day tour. We're visiting different gyms, and we'll be in London. We're in Copenhagen. We're in Denmark. We're in Sweden, visiting different gyms, training. So that's something I absolutely love. I love traveling different parts of the world. I've been to so many places already, and then bodybuilding has done all that. Has provided me the opportunity to travel the world, places I've never ever thought I would go to, like Japan and India, Italy, all these places. I've been able to go to. But obviously the world's huge. I want to visit a lot more other places. Winning the Olympia and, obviously continuously, trying to be a positive role model to the sport. And hopefully, I knock on wood, but I want at least another 10 more years in the sport.
Oh, you got it. Yeah, easy.
Yeah, I stay healthy, I stay safe, and everything.
You gotta give Dexter a call and ask him what elixir he's using, because he's got the Fountain of Youth at his house somewhere. He's not sharing, but he's got it, I'm sure.
Do it at 49, 50. I mean, I'm asking for just 47. I'm good. 47.
Well, he's an anomaly, but I don't think it's anything that other people couldn't do too. There's a couple of things that I think, this is my personal opinion, I think that has made his longevity so successful. And aside from his great genetics, all that stuff, I mean, that's certainly a given. But there's a lot of guys and gals who have great genetics who couldn't last that long or couldn't have the same kind of longevity. And I think part of it is that one is he doesn't risk things in training. Yep. He's not a risk taker. He doesn't overdo the drug side of things. He doesn't totally overdo it. So there's a lot of components that I think that has contributed. I also think that in his mind, I think he feels he has to, at least for another year. And when you make it a must, then you tend to work your shit out. You tend to figure out how to make it happen.
Well, as I said, he still has the fire, the passion.
Yeah.
When you have that, nothing can stop you.
Exactly.
I as hard as this thing may get, with everything, and I love it, I still have the fire. I have the passion and the desire to keep doing it and keep pushing and keep going. I love this sport. I absolutely love this sport. I love getting on stage. I love the training aspect. I love traveling. I love everything about it.
You mentioned Gasp. Who else? They're a clothing company. Who else did you have? What other sponsors do you have? Because I think you have a couple, right?
Supplement company, Jack's Factory, a company based out of Canada. I'm in my second year with them now. We just re-signed back in just past February.
Good.
Company, I love them. Actually, I might be going out with them possibly in June to the Toronto Pro. I believe they're going to have their first booth out there. They're a brand new company. They're growing. And obviously, I'm very fortunate that they brought me on almost 2 years ago and kind of had me one of the faces for the brand. So I'm doing my best out here, obviously, to promote them and promote them worldwide. Like I said, Gasp as well. I signed with Gasp actually back in December.
Okay.
When I went to Texas with them, I talked to Guy Nino, who's obviously been with them for a couple of years. He kind of put the word in for me, and I met with the boss. He liked what I was about. He signed me obviously that weekend, and we've been rocking and rolling ever since. And as I said, tomorrow we leave for the UK.
Okay, cool. I'll have to get. I haven't met the guys over at Gas. It was one of the few companies I don't really. If I have, I didn't know it. but I do like the clothes. I'll have to. That's what I was going to ask Guy about. I knew that he was sponsored by Gas for a long time, and I didn't know you were until today. But I was going to ask him hey man, you can tell our friends over there at Gas to send me some clothes. I want to talk to him about maybe sponsoring the show or something.
Really.
No, they have nice clothes. Now there's a couple other companies. I think John Ray's got a company that is more. They're workout gear for that's upscale. I don't know if it's the Chanel of bodybuilding wear. I don't know, but something of that nature, I guess. Because he's always into the high fashion shit. So I'm trying to think if this is really high fashion. Then I don't think bodybuilders are your target market. I don't know, but maybe I don't know.
Well, that company actually at the Legion Pro when I competed, they had a big booth there.
Okay.
So the word out. I saw Shaun sign with them, so
yeah. So
I'm still making moves.
Yeah, it's light years from the days in the '90s with Crazy Wear. I don't know if you remember Crazy Wear. Man, I had a couple $100 worth of clothing for this stuff from these guys, man, because it was the only shit that I could wear.
Absolutely.
So
the sponsorships. I talk to people all the time. Guys get back in the days, they get it. The sponsorships were huge back in the day. Now on social media, I mean, these guys are, doing being sponsored for a bottle of protein, and
to me that's not a sponsorship to me.
No,
that's just a nice gift.
Days of the muscle tech contracts are just long and gone.
Yeah, I think a lot of guys. Do you get that? Do you get people ask you that question a lot about sponsorships and stuff? Because
I got a few, and I said, besides obviously having to earn it and what you bring to the company. It's who you are. I mean, again, but I tell them at the end of the day, if you're expecting to get a $10,000 a month contract, good luck. It's not going to happen. If
it does happen, the company you have to be bringing in at least double that, like 2x that, because it's a business, right? Like this is a business. Like no, I wouldn't spend money on my business that wasn't directly linked to revenue, right? Where I could say, okay, this is worth it, So I get it, but today, this is the funny thing. That today, you don't even have to compete, and you could be like a fitness influencer on social media, and everybody thinks you're like knows what the hell you're doing. And I'm not saying that they don't. It's just that you don't even have to fucking compete anymore.
Got a good following and tons of followers. That's all they care about. That's how a lot of companies care about. That's it. Yeah,
because at the end of the day, when it comes to contracts and when it comes to being sponsored, it's really all about your audience, right? Like, do you have an audience? And does your audience listen to you? And these guys, what kind of influence do you have over them? So it's really that. And so when you have, and that can be done never winning a show.
I was going to say, nowadays, they don't really care too much about your placing, even though it's great.
It's great.
Your following will grow from that. But more so it's your content, how you respond to your fans and followers online. Like, I know I try to post and respond to questions all the time. I respond to some crazy DMs sometimes.
It's kind of funny. That's the one thing that I say is interesting about today's day and age. I find it to be total humorous because you never know kind of goofy questions you get. But I know that like before, like, gosh, what was it? The craziest fan inquiry that I ever got was years ago when I was competing. I just told this story not too long ago, but it was funny, so I'll tell you. I had a fan who emailed me. He's like, "Hey man, like I've been watching. I go to the shows and I see you bodybuilding. I see you competing. Would you mind selling me your posing trunks?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro. Those bad boys are not going anywhere outside my drawer." I'm like,
Aaron, I haven't been asked that yet. Even though I'm not looking for it, but it's never happened to me.
Yeah, well, now that you said it, you're gonna get like 10 DMs. Like, dude, I'll buy your posing trunks. Yeah. And get this, he even said, "You don't have to wash them." I'm like, "Bro, what? Dude. Don't talk to me about that." But I get it. Everyone's got their freaky thing going on. That's okay. I get it. Whatever. But I just took it as a compliment and said, "You know what? No thanks." For you, but yeah, so it's kind of funny. Like, especially today, like the fans, we can be so close to our and that's wonderful, right? Like, and also whereas before it was much harder to develop yourself as a brand. Now you can develop your own self as a brand, and it can be worth something to you beyond the sport of bodybuilding.
Absolutely. I mean, obviously everyone knows my name is the Giant Killer. I've had it since 2006, but up until social media, no one really knew that. So when I go to a show or anywhere, no one knows my real name is Shaun. They just call me Giant Killer. Which is great. I'm fine with, obviously. But
you should
help with social media.
You should get together with Gasp there and have them make you some Giant Killer gear. You know what I mean? That'd be awesome. I think that'd be so. And it's so funny because I remembered it right away. Of course, I'd go to all the shows, but I remember because I was a fan of Danny Padilla's, and he was the original first Giant Killer. And then it was one show. I think it was when you turned pro. I think it was. I don't remember which show it was. It was one of the first shows that I saw you compete in. Early on as a pro or late as an amateur, and I think it was Bob Ciccarello or someone who said, "Oh yeah, like a Giant Killer," and it just stuck in my head, and I'm like, this dude totally reminds me of Danny Padilla in that way, because like you were just slaying.
Bob called him the new Giant Killer.
The new Giant, is that what he did? Okay. Well, so on this year you're trained just for the Olympia. And are you going to do other shows after that? Like, do you plan on it?
I needed a break. I mean, I went from the New York Pro last year, which was, I started dieting in January of 2018.
Right.
Yeah, 18. And obviously I did the New York Pro. Then I took a little bit of a break and started dieting for the Olympia. Then I did the Korea show. Then I did the Legion show. Then I did Japan. Dude, by the time I got to Japan, I don't know how I even made it out. I did not expect to come out the way I did. I mean, I took second. I was absolutely, fantastic, but I was running on fumes at that point in time. So being that I'm qualified I was already qualified. I was like, thank God, I'm already qualified. I don't have to start dieting. I can kind of give back to my family and my girlfriend and give them time, obviously, because, this sport is very selfish. So when I'm dieting, we don't talk. We're home together. We'll sit next to each other. We don't talk at all. I can't do that. I can't do that all the time. But Yeah, the focus right now is directly on Olympia. That's it. As far as shows after, I didn't see much on the actual website.
Yeah, they may not cut.
Yeah, I'm hoping they add more later on. Cause I definitely want to, if possible, I would love to do at least 2 or 3 shows this year after Olympia, obviously.
Yeah, maybe just a little early to see all of them, I think. I mean, just a little, because they could pop up. Depends on when the promoters decide to submit that information. So, but, all right, well, what's the, now in your outside of bodybuilding, what's the most exciting stuff going on for you? I like asking that kind of question because people tend to think that bodybuilders are just bodybuilders.
Say it sounds bad, but bodybuilding is like everything.
No, that's nothing wrong with that if it is what it is.
Honestly, I mean, my girlfriend gets it. She loves it. We go to the local amateur shows together. When we're not doing that, when we're not training, because I train every 6 days a week. When we're not doing that, we're just homebodies. We like to rest because she works obviously full time. I have the training full time, and so we like to rest. We like to go to the movies. Once in a while, I go visit family that's it's local, obviously, and kind of hang out. But when I try to take advantage of this off time to kind of see family and go out and do normal things.
Yeah.
Once we flip that switch,
yep,
next month, all that goes at the door.
Is that when you start to ramp things up?
Yeah, I would say probably around May or so, or late April, right in late April, trying to start kind of gearing things back in. But honestly, right now, I haven't really gone too far off my diet this off season. When I came home from Japan, I was like I went ape shit, obviously, with everything. But after like 3-4 weeks, that gets boring. It's like I didn't want the cookies and the ice cream anymore. What? So I started looking for my turkey and my beef and my rice. So
I think I made it to like Wednesday after shows before I was like, I need to get back on my diet. You just feel so gluttonous. You feel so like you don't feel clean. You don't, at least I did.
I think what year was? I think it was 2016. I came home from Alaska, and my girlfriend made cookies, brownies, cake, to make the whole 9 yards for me. She didn't expect that I would eat that in like 2 days.
Oh, jeez.
Got home like Sunday or whatever, and by like Tuesday, I felt like complete crap. Like I gained 20 pounds of bloat and crap water. I tried to walk around the block, kind of walk the stuff off. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't tie my shoes. Never again will I do that. It was the worst feeling ever.
I think everyone's got that. Everyone who's competed for a while has at least one, like overindulgent story. My best was the first time I did the USA Championships in 1993. And I competed as a light heavyweight. I weighed in at 191 and a half. And that was on Friday, on Thursday afternoon. And by Monday morning, I'd eaten on Sunday after the show. Only one meal, but I totally gorged out at the Olive Garden, just fucking went nuts. And I kept eating. And then I woke up on Monday morning, and we were going to drive back from Southern California back up to Oregon, where I was living at the time. And I was 220, little over 220 pounds. I gained almost 30 pounds, and it fucking hurt. It hurt, dude. It hurt.
Where your skin hurts, and it's like your ankles are swollen. Like, oh my god,
dude. I'm driving up, right? We're driving back up, and we get off the freeway, and we pull. I'm like, I'm. You know how when you're in that stage, like, it doesn't matter how much food you got. I want to eat still. I'm like, hey man, there's a fucking Taco Bell.
I don't get it. I don't know. It's weird. Like you have a huge stomach, but I'm still hungry. It's like what?
Well, we stop at this. I saw this Taco Bell. I'm like, man, I haven't had fucking Taco Bell forever. I'm like, I just want to have just one thing. I'll just get something small. So we stop. I'm sitting there in line. I got this tank top on. It's the summertime, and I'm sitting there. I'm all tanned up, and I'm like probably 220 pounds and all lean. And I'm only 5'7", so I'm sitting there looking. And these dudes walking through like, dude, what the fuck did you do to yourself?
I believe it.
I'm like, no, I just got done competing. Yeah, but that was the last time I did that. I actually had a client several years ago who put herself in the hospital because she overate. She got herself impacted because when you put too much food in there, sometimes there's a bottleneck and it can't move very well. And she calls me. She's like, Tad, don't be mad at me. I'm in the ER right now. I'm like, what? Why are you in the ER? And she's like, I've been eating. And she's like, since Friday, I haven't really stopped. And I'm like, what? I'm like, stop. What do I do? Stop eating.
At that point, you're in the hospital. job. I don't know.
They had to give her like enemas and all kinds of stuff. She got it. She was better after that. That was the last time she did that too, by the way.
I definitely. I mean, I enjoy myself maybe a day or two now.
Yeah.
I'll never get back to that 20 pounds in 2 days. That was nuts.
It hurts, man. Especially guys like, when you're not, it's on a 5'1", 5 foot. I mean, that hurts, man. That fucking hurts.
That's a lot of weight.
What? So when you're, so as you start to ramp everything up, do you go through any mental exercises? Like I'm always interested in the mental side of things because everyone has a different approach, and I find that most highly successful athletes and people in general tend to have similar things into their daily routines, into things that keep them on focus. Do you have something like for me, it's meditation, but do you have something in your life and writing that keeps you centered? Like I see, I'm just gonna lead you into this. I see behind you, man. You got your someone on your faith and looks like the Last Supper. So maybe are you a strong faith driven individual?
We go to church every Sunday. That kind of be grounded, obviously. I've always been into church since I was a kid. Obviously, it kind of just when that one day we don't do anything. We don't train.
Oh, good.
We don't do any cardio. That's strictly just church and family day.
What denomination do you? Is it a non-denominational church or?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Was it like a Church of Christ or something or?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I grew up in.
Yeah, we love. I mean, obviously as a kid, I grew up in a Baptist church.
Okay.
Loud music.
Very similar.
Yeah, and then now obviously my girlfriend's Italian and she grew up Catholic. She obviously now she decided to be a Christian. So now we go to non-denominational church, and it's been great.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I went to seminary. I studied this stuff, although I don't go necessarily practice from that perspective today. I do hold them to, all faiths, and especially the Christian faith, but all faiths to have value, immense value. And I tell people this: look, whatever beliefs you have, if it has power in your life, then keep using it.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep it. If it doesn't, don't.
I mean, there was a number of years where I didn't go to church or anything, and I think once I started going to church, things just kind of got better, and I felt like a little bit more success happened in my life. I felt like things were much easier, a lot calmer, much peaceful, and obviously having someone who believes in everything that I believe in makes things much easier too. Because in the past, I'd have ex-girlfriends who were just complete opposite of everything I did.
Oh, really?
That didn't help at all.
My grandmother used to tell me when I was in college, she'd say, Dad, because she'd see me dating all these girls. I had several girlfriends and stuff. And she's like, you got to make sure when you pick somebody, you're equally yoked. Now, my grandmother was a deeply spiritual, deeply religious woman from the South. Okay, so this is who she was. And what she meant was that I need to find somebody, it's exactly what you said, to find something that matches up with you morally, your belief systems. And it's not that anyone's right or wrong. It's just that sometimes you don't want that kind of conflict. Like, right, in your house, what you believe this, she believes this, and now you're fighting on stuff over stuff that doesn't really matter. Like at least not at that moment in time. And what was that?
It's just stressful.
It's very stressful. What? Well, I actually took that. I didn't realize the power of this until later, because I don't think. Most of the ladies that I have dated are kind of fairly neutral on it, and then both my marriages, my first marriage, were probably more eye to eye. So I hate to say this because it makes it sound like because I'm the one that stepped away from that original relationship, but it kind of when I look back now, from a moral standpoint and from a perspective of what we believe, it was a much better match for me. And then because my last wife was Italian. Full-blooded, raised Roman Catholic, and man, I don't have anything against Roman Catholics, but all the women that I've ever dated from this sort of sector of the world, this Roman Catholic, Italian, they got issues, man. I mean, no more than anybody else, of course, but the issues that gave us conflict, I didn't really get it. I think there's a guilt thing. It's an Italian Roman Catholic. There's a guilt thing. There's this thing, nobody likes to talk about sex. I'm like, come on, man. Come on, you take away all my fun. But nonetheless, I had wonderful marriages, so they're great. But my current girlfriend actually, she considers herself a Christian, even though she's Thai. She's half Thai, half Chinese, because she kind of grew up that way. But her dad is Buddhist, and I totally get like he built his house near the huge temple. It's the I forget what they call it, the actual Atamagai temple. It's the biggest Buddhist temple in the world. I've been there. If you see the picture of me on my Instagram where I'm jumping, I'm going like this. Right behind me, that's the temple. That's not a stadium. That's a fucking temple. It's immense. It's really cool. It's the largest in the world. But it does make a difference. I found out really vividly in my current relationship because she has very Asian sensibilities. And even though I'm Japanese, yeah, I grew up in like my family in pretty much a southern white sort of Christian sort of background. And those are the sensibilities that I tend to have. And you're right. When you're with somebody where you don't match, when you don't align up completely those sensibilities, it leaves the door open for conflict, for misunderstanding, and for just things just don't sort of the teeth don't really groove in right sometimes. And it's nothing against anybody else. Right, exactly. So it sounds like you got a good match. Like you just like found a good match.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I like that you put up the stuff in your house. It's kind of nice. I think we should all like how we live, what we hang around. Like if you in our homes and how we live in our homes and these kind of things really say a lot about the person. But it doesn't surprise me. Like it doesn't surprise me. Like it just for some reason I kind of anticipate that you might be a person of faith just because you have a very lack of a better word to describe, you have a very consistent sensibility. It's not you don't seem to ever really truly. I've never seen you really pissed off.
No, I don't get too pissed off. I'm not a conflict guy. I don't talk crap about anybody really. Like it's not me. Yeah. I just kind of keep to myself, do my thing, and just kind of go about my business. To be honest, I don't want to get involved in anything negative.
No, man, it's not worth it, right?
It's not worth it from a business aspect with sponsorships and money, and it just overall, I don't get it sometimes.
I don't either. I try to keep. I focus myself towards the things that really excite me and that really make me feel good. I'll make a note of stuff that doesn't. Like, okay, I'll make a note of that, but I'm not.
I'm hearing it. And I just track with it.
It's taken many years for me to be able to go from making a note of it and responding to making a note of it and dropping it.
Well, that's the thing too with social media. I mean, people are just so ballsy. They can say whatever they want because they're behind a screen. I got to the point where now it's like, you know what? I can't respond to that.
Right.
So most of the time, if it's, I'll either just block you, delete the comment, or just ignore it because they want that conflict. They want you to fight back. Well, I'm not going to do it. I don't have time for that.
Well, you're right. And when you respond, what you do is you lend credibility to their argument. You basically shine a spotlight on it and you say, okay, well, you entertain this idea, so to speak. And you're right. The best tactic is just to ignore. And I think that's kind of as much as social media has been so wonderful in our lives to help expand the sport, help create brands for people. It also opens up the opportunity for people to really sort of spew forth whatever's going on inside of them. So, and I remind people of this. I say, look, I realize quickly that when somebody makes a negative comment or somebody says something that I don't like, and maybe they directed at me or they directed at somebody else, it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with this. It has to do with the person who's saying it. All they do. That's why you never hear me rant. In all the years that I've been, you never. It's because I always ask myself, where's the percentage in this for you, Tad? Like, what am I going to get out of this?
For you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no value. I'm not going to change anybody's minds. That's not my job. Okay. But if you ask me my opinion, I'll tell you about, okay, this is what I think about this. But hey, man, you're allowed to think whatever you like, man. I give full. That's why I named my show, Handle Your High. Because for me, it stands for, if you've been around people that smoke weed or party, you'll know that when somebody's high gets fucked up, they can fuck it up for everybody else. Okay. So you're drinking too much, you starting fights, handle your shit, right? Like handle your high, man. Like, and in life, I feel it's a great metaphor for the rest of life that each of our responsibility in this life to manage our own feelings and manage our lives. But we're always making these requests of each other to manage it for us. Like, you need to be a certain way so that I can feel good about you. Like, why did you say that? You need to say it this way. So essentially what's not being said is, so I can like you or I can feel good about what you say. And you don't have to feel good about what I say. You can just close your ears. You can just turn away. But Right. Well, my point is that this world is big enough that we could have a diverse. You don't want everyone holding the same opinions or things. But what we definitely want to do is encourage an atmosphere of free dialogue and free speech, and because even if you don't like what people are saying, one of the most dangerous things I hear people going on right now in politics is people want to silence people, and that is no good. I don't care if you don't like what they have to say, you can't do it.
The right to free speech, and obviously, again, you don't have to agree with it, you don't have to like it, but respect it.
Right, and to me, it feels like when anybody tries to oppress or suppress ideas, boy, sure, man, I feel so much like fascism. Like, it doesn't feel right to me, but so I'm always for free speech, but I do recognize that not everyone's going to like what we all have to say, right? Like that's okay, but we should be able to feel comfortable enough within ourselves to be able to hear it. I can hear it.
People, I mean, I get DMs or even comments of, "Oh, this is weak. You're this is weak. You need to work." Like I see it. I don't take it as a negative thing. Like I said, it's free speech. I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to go back and forth with you about it. I'm not going to even like.
Well, the truth is, the great comeback really is. Well, I have been to the Olympia a few times. How many times have you been?
The old me would have done that. That's throwing that back, but. For what? That doesn't mean anything. They know what I've done. They've seen it. Yeah, it's
kind of funny. Do you get a lot of people? Because I'm always surprised that some of the best pros and just any pro, they'll get this advice from people who've never fucking competed. It seems like.
A guy just DM'd me last night. Oh, you're working your back, but you're forgetting about your chest. Like, what do you mean? I still train my like. Thank you, but no. Thank you.
You don't know my program, but I appreciate it. I would take it like, hey, man, the dude's just trying to be helpful, right? He's just trying to be helpful.
Yeah. I mean, there's been times, obviously, where I've responded. Oh. He's like, hey, I think if you did this or you need to bring this up. And I'll say, yeah, you're right. I do need to bring up my calves and my chest. And this is what I'm doing to fix that. And that's it. It's nothing negative. I don't take it as a negative thing.
No.
Some people are really going to be, positive, criticism, to be honest with you. Not everyone's going to be negative.
Right. And some people, but, I think a lot of it, how you, see, this is, to me, this speaks to who you are, that the way in which that you respond is a reflection of you. So when you respond positively, oh, hey, yeah, I'm working on that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Or, oh, I got this covered. Thank you. I appreciate it. Instead of, hey, man, you know what the fuck you're talking about. I've been doing this shit a long time. Fuck you. What kind of shows do you, what shows do you want? And I know guys that would do shit like that. Like, or worse, put them on blast and shit in front of the world.
Don't respond.
Yeah. But like I said, it has a lot to do. Like whenever I get comments from people, I'm really fortunate. I don't get a lot of negative comments and stuff. I think the worst thing somebody's ever said to me in recent years is, "Hey, show me your bicep" or something like that. Something weird, thing like that. Because I don't do that kind of stuff. But I know that like when you respond, how you respond is a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So when somebody responds negatively, or they respond like in an adversarial role, it just tells me, whoa, okay, well, like this person is in a feisty mood. This is what's going on with him. There's nothing that's going to be accomplished. You know what I mean? So it's a testament to your character, because I think good character people respond from their character. They respond from the good nature within them, even if the comment may be somewhat nebulously negative. It's like. It's like you got it, and that's the way I think. That's the opportunity that athletes like yourself and athletes, and this is a question too. You have this unique opportunity to be this influencer, to be this person that really does have an impact in people's lives in a very, very big way. And is that something that's on your mind? Do you get that? I mean, do you feel that from your fans? Because I know you have a lot of fans.
I get it from a lot of guys who are short guys.
Go short people.
I had the show this past weekend, MPC Steve Stillman at Metropolitans, and the one guy's like, "Hey, bro, you're representing for us short guys. Thank you. I watch your videos. It motivates me, inspires." I literally get it from mostly the shorter bodybuilders, because like I guess at a point, like even when I was coming up a little bit, I wasn't sure if I was able to do it. Was I too small? But then obviously seeing guys like Jose and Marvin Ward do it, it's like, okay, they did it, then I could do it. So these guys are seeing me now doing it, and they're thinking the same thing. Okay, Shaun Clarida did it. I can do it as well. So, I mean, a lot of the reason why I put up the content I put up, like I put a lot of transformation pictures up, and I'll always put my height, my weight so people see that it's possible. You can make it to Olympia at 160 pounds. You don't need to be 212 pounds on a dot to do it.
Right.
So that's a lot of reason why I put transformation pictures up. A lot of my training videos I put up for people to get tips and ideas. Because I get a lot of questions like, oh, how do I bring this up? Instead of responding, I'll put a video up. You can watch a video, take the ideas, and run with it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So like I try to do a transformation picture at least 2 or 3 times a month.
Oh, really? Okay, cool.
People like it. I mean, people always respond to it like, oh man, that's awesome. Your motivation.
You should. Have you done one with you like maybe at the age of like 17 or 18 or something, and then
I did one when I was in high school. I was 95 pounds.
Nice.
At my junior year of high school, and I did one like a recent one, like Olympia picture. It's like night and day, bro. It's like
that isn't even the same dude. That dude ate that dude, I think. I know.
What I did today was like my first year competing in 2005. I was hitting a front double bicep, which I think was a front double bicep. The way I pose, it's like a comparison to the 2017 Dallas Pro when I won that one. So obviously you can see the physique changes, but it gives people motivation and kind of inspiration.
Well, aside from the impact this sport's had on your life in terms of you now having it as a full career, so like what in your mind, what's the best thing that's come out of this career or this lifestyle, this bodybuilding for you? I only ask that question because you're going to have a unique perspective because of where you are in the industry, and I'm just curious. Like, and you seem to be really sort of you're very, very straightforward in terms of like, hey man, I'm about this bodybuilding thing. And you're very just self-directed. So what is it for you?
I mean, if I didn't do this, like I think to myself, like what would I be doing? I mean, I wouldn't be doing wrestling obviously full time. It's giving me an opportunity, obviously, to do something I absolutely love, and I wake up every morning doing it. I don't have to wake up and go to a 9 to 5 and dread it every day. I literally wake up doing exactly what I love. And then obviously with competing and traveling the world and obviously having a healthy lifestyle. Obviously I've had, family issues with people being sick and diabetes and stuff like that. I don't have to worry about that, or I'm taking a stance towards fighting against that. But obviously training the way I actually just went for a checkup, had blood work done, and then the doctor was amazed by everything was perfect. Like, oh, she's like, continue training because everything is great. My heart was good, and obviously my glucose levels were great. There was no issues.
I think that's funny because a lot of guys over the years, not recently, but over the years, you'll see people like some people who usually blast the sport because of the drug use, because of the things that we have to do, and they're like, yeah, they'll talk about blood work and stuff like that. And then I remember this came out in my life. But right as I was retiring, and I had a friend of mine who's a doctor, he's a surgeon. We both, know who he is. He's a judge in the industries, and what a friend of mine. He's a great guy. But he's like, I want you to do some blood work, Tad. Because he knew what I'd been doing for so many years. Okay, and so I'm like, because I'm on gear, I'm doing like, grabbing half of this and doing this off and on and doing the GH and you name it, right? I did it all, right? And it was wonderful. I always kept myself healthy. I always lived the lifestyle. I didn't party. I didn't do all that. And so I'm like, hey man, I'm telling you, man, my blood work's gonna come back good. I know it. It's gonna come back. I'm gonna be good. He's like, well, you're getting older, Tad. He's like, so I go in there and he says, I'm gonna write you a script for the blood work that I want to see, and we'll talk about it when I get it. I said, okay. Dude, he writes like 30 fucking tests and shit. Like I got like 28 vials. They have blood they take out of my arm, and I'm like, Jesus, man. I'm like, so I get this done, and then a couple weeks go by, and he's like, he doesn't bring it up, and I'm like, hey man, I'm like, so what happened with the test? He's like, man, you have a resilient biology. I'm like, well, I said, I told you, the only thing that I personally struggle with from time to time is a little bit of hypertension. When I got my weight over 250, I think that's when it kind of started a little bit, and then over 40 being Japanese, it's kind of in the Asian genes, so I kind of have a little tendency to be slightly hyper. But other than that, man, I'm good. And yeah.
People are gonna bash the sport for what we do, but it's people that abuse the hell out of it are the ones are unhealthy and beating or killing themselves.
Yeah, they have, and most of the time they have a lot of other elements in their life, in their lifestyle that is not conducive to bodybuilding.
Genetics too. Sometimes you have no idea, or obviously the supplements don't help, but it can naturally be caused by something genetically from your family. Absolutely,
and I have to say that my health has always been very good. I've gotten sick maybe 6 times in the last 28 years. Like literally, like it's just not a lot. I just don't, and only 2 of those times it took me out of a workout. I was like, I'm not going to miss this workout. I'm that asshole. But I think you're right. Like in general, like there's a genetic component, and I think a lot of it. Now these days, today, I'm a big believer that if you're a happy person, you stay healthier. That you just like your attitude has a lot to do. Your own resonance, your own energetic resonance, has a lot to do with whether you're going to get sick or whether you're going to be susceptible to it. We're always encountering shit, right? Like we're always encountering. So my girlfriend's a doctor. She runs a clinic, and she's a very happy person in general and very excited, very energetic person. And she rarely gets sick, and she's around it all the time. I'm like, well, she has a healthy diet. She doesn't work out. She said she's going to try. She's going to start to again, but that's bullshit. I don't care. I don't personally care, but I think when you're a happy person and you give up this, then they've shown studies like just smiling bolsters your immune system. It's like in small ways, and so when you feel down, it's like it doesn't surprise. Like when I look at I've worked with several thousand clients over the years, and the times that people get like highly stressed, like a death in the family or divorce, or they move or they change jobs, these are the most highly stressful parts of our life. When that happens, they are, more than likely that's the time they're going to get sick. That's when it's going to happen.
That's stuff you can't control sickness at that point.
No, it's just it's running out of control.
Yeah.
So I'm a big believer that, hey man, this life for me is all about maintaining my joy, man. It's about finding my joy on a daily basis, and turning away from the stuff that doesn't feel so good. That, you know what I mean? I don't have to think about stuff that stresses me out or that makes me worried or that makes me anxious or that makes me fearful. I don't have to think about that. Like that, I can think about good, happy, warm, fuzzy stuff, like the stuff like my daughter or what I love about bodybuilding or my job or the great friends I get to talk to and meet and be a part of in this industry. It's so awesome. So that's why I think there's so much more. I'm a firm believer that if you feel good on a consistent basis, you will be a healthier person. I mean, I really did. I keep track of this stuff in my notes and in my data. So I have literally terabytes of data on clients and stuff like that over all these years of working with people. And I'm going to tell you, man, like it is without a shadow of a doubt, when people go through preps, when they're least stressed and they feel happy, they feel good, their bodies perform twice as good almost. But when they're stressed out, when they're worried about stuff, when they're worried about how they're going to come in shape, it's like pulling teeth to get their bodies to change sometimes. Like,
those are the worst workouts. When you're stressing about something, I know for me, pissed off about something, whatever, my workout's a shot.
Done.
Yeah.
I remember training for nationals or something several years ago, and I had gotten in a fight with my wife that day, like some kind of weird disagreement. And she said something that kind of made me feel, and I take my relationships very personally, so it's like it was a big deal to me. And I remember going to that gym, I'm like, Beck, this workout just got fucked. I was like, what? Now I can't stop thinking about this. I'm like, shit. So I had to resolve it before I started. So I sat down, got on my phone, called her. I'm like, I'm gonna resolve this shit because I gotta get this workout, and I can't get it done right if I'm sitting there upset about this relationship crap.
Was she more upset the fact that you wanted to settle it because of the relationship or for the workout?
I didn't tell her the reason why. Man, I'm not dumb.
Got it. Check. Nope.
I just wanted to make sure you know that I want to smooth this out, right, baby? I love you. No, but so what outside of, like, I know I kind of asked this before, but I'm trying to come up with a couple of questions at the end of my interviews that are kind of like that are outside of the box. And even though these ones aren't, so I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here that I've asked a couple other guys already. The first question is, from your position today, like when you look at your life and from where you're at today, when you look forward or even backwards, what do you feel is your biggest, has been or will be your biggest challenge? And you can put it in the past or in the future, it doesn't matter, but what's your biggest challenge do you see moving forward in your, not just in your career, but just in your life in general? Do you see it? Do you see a big, like what is that big challenge?
Just making sure we're financially set. Hello?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, we lost each other. Sorry. Oh, your video's not on. Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. I think I don't know if something happened. We got dropped or something. But your biggest challenge, you said, the financial.
financially set for my family.
Okay.
We're looking to move next year.
Where do you live now?
We're in New Jersey.
Okay, so I don't know why I thought you lived in Texas. I don't know why I thought that, but so where you going to move somewhere else?
Yeah, we're looking to move to Florida.
Of course, everyone's moving to Florida. Damn it!
Of course.
That's the place to be, man. Like I was gonna move there a couple years ago, and then I ended up moving to Chicago, and which is fine. But dude, don't move to Chicago, man. Don't move. I mean, it's a great place for food, but yeah, Florida's better, man. I should have moved to Florida. But I might end up moving to. It's good. I'm gonna move to Phoenix.
Okay, a nice weather.
I got it, man. I grew up in Vegas. I was born in Southern California. I'm a native Hawaiian by genetics. I need the heat, man. I need the heat. I need the sun. I need the heat. It's like, but now the second question. We just talked about the biggest challenges that you face, that you feel like you face. And those are good challenges. I think those are kind of typical. I think that's kind of what Guy said too. I think. But what do you think is and now what do you, in terms of your biggest blessings? Like, what is your biggest blessing in your life?
My family. I mean, number one is my family. Having a family that's actually supportive of what I do. It's hard to have, because when I started this, a lot of my family didn't really understand it, didn't support it, and even some of my friends who didn't really get it kind of just brushed me off. So I was kind of, playing this thing on my own, really, with just myself and the person I was dating at the time. But now my family gets it, they understand it, they see I'm obviously making a career out of it, and I'm able to, be fortunate to do what I do. So now they're on board, they get it. My mom comes to shows along with my girlfriend. They're both my biggest fans, obviously. So the blessing of having a supportive family, if I didn't have that, I'd still obviously compete. But obviously having that support and having, their support, it just makes things easier and makes things, I hope, so much better. Yeah, this is one of those sports where you really see, or you really feel that support. If you don't have it, it's like, when I was young, was that? It sucks when you don't have it.
It sucks, absolutely. And you could feel it because you everybody likes to say how they accomplish things, and that's wonderful. But none of us do it alone. Like, we really don't. And people who think that they do, I'm like, oh man, like, it's okay to acknowledge the support and the help and the love that you get from your family and your friends and all the people that rally to your cause. Man, that's a blessing. That's huge. That's awesome. Like, there's people in this world that I know who don't have any of that, who literally can feel like they're all alone in the world, and that sucks. And that's part of the reason why I do some of what I do. It sounds goofy. It sounds kind of a little too altruistic, but it's the truth. It's like, I know what that feeling is like, to feel like you're all alone in something. And I never want anyone to feel that way, because we're not. We're all here together. Even though
I won a New York Pro last year. It was probably one. I've been trying to win a New York Pro since I turned pro from 2014. I want to win it. I want to win it. But I think this year was the year that it was the right time when I won it, because I literally had my entire family, my sponsors, my girlfriend, her family. I had about 40, 50 people there to watch.
Wow.
And they know I've been trying to win it for 4 or 5 years. And when I won it, they were all there. They were all waiting for me backstage. It was like a uproar. It was amazing. So yeah, having that support makes things so much better. Especially with the support you get in your own home.
Yeah. This is just speaking from my own experience. Just having a significant other who is sitting there by your side, even if they don't say anything, they just understand. Dude needs his space right now.
She gets pissed. I get it, and I feel for her sometimes, but she knows it's not her.
It's not. No.
It's the sport. It's the diet, and this is why we do cardio together at 4 a.m. together, and we train at night. I train only with her.
Oh, okay.
A training partner. So that's our together time.
Really? Hey, I did the same thing with my first wife, Shauna. We used to do that. We used to. It was like, and I still remember some of my favorite times where I lived in Maryland at the time. I was in graduate school in DC, and she was doing a postdoc in UMAB, or finishing her PhD actually. And we would drive to Glen Burnie, Maryland, and we would work out at Kevin Larone's gym at the time in the '90s. And there was another powerhouse gym there, and it was a 40-minute drive, one way. So, but it was the best gym. It was like, I needed to work out at a good gym. I needed to have like heavy dumbbells. I needed to have like a real bodybuilding gym. I couldn't work out this fucking, I don't know, the other place that I was nothing. I couldn't do that shit. So I would drive to do this, and that was our time together. She was in school. We would, and in our car rides and our gym time. That was our time together. And it was a couple hours a day, and it was great, and it was some of my best memories. And no matter how you get it done in life, right? It doesn't matter. Like, quality time to me isn't just time you spend alone with the person. It's the time that you spend with the person that makes you feel good.
That's what my girlfriend said. No matter what we're doing, where we go, as long as we're together.
Yeah. Well, my last question here, and this is I came up with this question just for you because, well, you'll see why. If you were a car, what kind of car would you be?
If I was a car?
Yeah, like what car do you think out there represents you the best? Like,
okay.
Don't say Volkswagen because it's not. We're not going on the size game.
Damn it, man.
Do you like cars?
I do. I have my favorite car. Like, I like the Range Rover. I love the Maserati.
Oh, that's my car right there. That's the electric blue. I would like to have an electric blue Maserati.
The blue Maserati, man, or even a white one. I'll take a white one.
Yeah.
What kind of car would I be?
Like what car?
Something strong, almost like a Jeep. I would say something strong, compact, and can really just move. I would say like almost like a Jeep.
One of those cool Jeep Wranglers that they have those.
Yeah, exactly.
I've been wanting to get one of them.
It's not huge, but it can move. You know, and it's strong as hell.
You know, they used to be kind of goofy, but now they're badass. Those cars are pretty badass.
They're done up right. I see a lot of these Jeeps around. I'm like, Jesus, they got the swamp tires on them. Everything. It's awesome. I
know, and they're all metal. I like the hard shells and stuff. You take them off and put them back on. Yeah, I don't like all the soft stuff. Back in the day when the old Jeeps were around, like I had a friend who had one and we'd drive in it, and man, you hear everything. It's like I'm like, hey, can we stop and get something to drink?
Driving.
Yeah. So well. Thank you so much, Shaun, for being on the show. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day and your busy schedule. Stay on the line after we stop, but so I could talk to you for just a second. But thanks so much, man. You're awesome, and I really, really wish you luck as you enter your prep into the new Olympia. I really have great hopes for you. I hope you really, really, really do wonderful. I'll be there to root you on and be there. But tell everybody where they can reach you and tell everybody your sponsors and just sort of give everybody the lowdown.
I'm very big on Instagram. You can just find me. My handles is Shaun Clarida, all one word. My sponsors, obviously, Jack's Factory, as well as Gas Official. And obviously, thank God for obviously just everything, the blessings, and be able to do what I do. My girlfriend, my family, everyone for the support and love. And again, I do this for myself, but I do it more so for them.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, thanks again, my friend. I totally appreciate you taking the time, man. It's been awesome. I'll have you on again. We'll talk about some other cool shit sometime later. All right.
Thanks. Appreciate you, man.
Handle your high with Tadayoshi.